Hubbard, and we are here on our second interview of the morning with Carla Gomes, professor and director of the Institute for Computational Sustainability at Cornell University and co-director of the Cornell AI for Science Institute. Welcome to the SciMic stage.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about what you do.
Well, I do AI. Actually, I do AI for accelerating scientific discovery for a sustainable future. And as you can see, I work with many scientists from different disciplines, from chemistry, biology, sustainability science, and also material science.
Very interdisciplinary, right?
Super interdisciplinary, and actually very much related to the previous speaker. And to give you a bit of a sense, to be more concrete, I would like to give you some examples of computational sustainability research. Computational sustainability is a new field I help establish and nurture. And the idea is to, advance AI computational methods to address global challenge in sustainability. As an example, I work on AI to accelerate materials and molecular discovery, for example, for renewable energy, for soil organic carbon sequestration. And you actually see there's a system, a chemical system, the bismuth copper vanadium oxide system. This system could not be solved by humans. It was just too hard, beyond their capabilities. What I mean by solving is when you have a collection of materials, you would like to identify their crystal structures, pretty much like Watson and Crick did when they identified the structure of DNA. So what we want to do is the same, but automatically have an AI be able to actually do this for you, and especially challenging systems like the one I mentioned, that humans, it's beyond human capability. So that system you see there, we actually identified 19 materials. One of them actually, we collaborate with scientists, material science from Cornell and Caltech, and that led to the discovery of new solar fuels. Solar fuels are very exciting because, contrarily to solar panels, the energy is intermittent. It depends on when the sun is out there. But solar fuels, you actually can store and use it later.
Oh, that's cool.
So that is very cool. So it's through what we call artificial photosynthesis. And the big vision is for us to develop these AI scientists, robotic scientists, that encapsulate the scientific method. So you see there Sarah, a female name. I admit I like naming my robots female names. Sarah stands for Scientific Autonomous Reasoning Agent for Materials Discovery. And Sarah behaves like a scientist. Sarah can formulate hypotheses, plan experiments to validate the hypothesis, run the experiments. You see that's a little cartoon showing how Sarah is actually controlling laser spike annealing to anneal the materials, collect data, collect optical data, X-rays, and interpret the data. From the X-rays, Sarah, one of its agents, Sarah has several agents, can automatically infer crystal structures from X-ray diffraction patterns. So that is one example of a type of project that I do. But another example is AI to combat the rapid decline in biodiversity. Like I would say climate change and the reduction of biodiversity are a major challenge that we are facing. And basically we develop techniques, methodologies, for example, to predict species distributions, to understand how species are distributed across landscape over time so that ecologists and conservation organizations can protect them. So what you see there that little animation, it is the output of an AI model. Basically, it is the output of the model for studying the richness of 40 species of little birds. You see there, the warblers. And you see, they arrived in the US around March, then they go up, and they start going down in September. So that animation is really, as I said, the output of a machine learning model.
Do you work with the Cornell Ornithology Lab on
Oh,
this?
absolutely, absolutely, I do. In fact, that is exact, and thanks for that question. I have to say, as you imagine, for us to do this research, sine qua non condition is we really have to work with the domain scientists. We have to absolutely, understand the problems, which is exciting but very challenging too. And we, in fact, the models, are you familiar with eBird?
I went to Cornell, so I know of the lab. But
Yes, eBird, I encourage you to download the apps. It's a citizen science program. You are familiar with it. Awesome. So it's a citizen science program. Anybody can submit bird observations. In fact,
yes,
those models are obtained thanks to the richness in and the contributions of the citizens. We have more than 1 billion observations that have been submitted by citizen science.
that's a lot of data.
It's a lot of data. It's like building the Empire State Building 5 times. And
Wow.
it is really insane. And because we have this massive amount of data, there's a lot of signal in terms of how the species migrate. And I can go on, but I will say when we started this program in 2007, first people dismissed it saying, oh, the data, the citizens are not prepared and it's going to be bad data. But number one, you were right. E-birders or birders are incredible. In fact, James Watson started his career as a little boy, age 7, with a journal, with bird observations. So that is an amazing program. And so it's an example. We also, for example, have programs for wildlife corridors, to protect species. We are interested in connecting. We worked, for example, with the Rocky Mountains Research State to develop corridors for grizzly bears, wolverines, and lynx, connecting Yellowstone, Glacier Park, and the Salmon Solway. So there are many. So we work on a variety of problems. Another example is, I don't know if you are familiar with the 30 by 30 problem. The United Nations has this goal by 2030 to conserve 30% of land and water resources to protect animals, to protect species. And, I will say, one cool thing about being an AI researcher is you develop very general methodologies. The methodology that we developed for species distributions for birds, actually, they can be transferred, and we apply the same methodology to predict properties of materials. Very different problems. So this makes it very exciting, the idea that we are, developing these transferable technologies across many, many domains.
And you'll be talking more about this in your session, correct?
Yes, I will be talking, my session is shaping the future of AI's impact on society. I will be talking more about that. There will be other panelists talking about AI for addressing social issues and the risks of AI. But I want to tell you about one more example.
Yes.
And that is how we are using AI for strategic planning, for strategic plan of the Amazon hydropower expansion. And the idea is that, the Amazon, the real Amazon, the Amazon basin, not the company.
Right, right.
So they already have about 200 hydropower dams, and there are about 400 new proposed, which is a lot. And when we think of hydropower dams, obviously people think of clean energy, correct? Well, I would say not so fast, because hydropower dams can have very adverse impacts on nature. They fragment the river, preventing, fish migration, the transportation of sediments, leading to deforestation, actually displacement of populations, and they can even induce the generation of greenhouse gases because they can flood huge areas, leading to the decomposition of organic matter with the release of methane. So some dams can be actually dirtier than coal. So you need to plan this very carefully. And, traditionally our systems are developed with one objective in mind. I'm going to build a dam to maximize energy. But the way I see it, and I think that's the power of AI has the ability to think in much higher dimensions and understand trade-offs. And, not only do I want to increase energy, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to destroy fish migration. So the ability to think in multi-objective, or what we call Pareto trade-offs, is super, super important.
We're running up on time, so I wanted to give one last question about if there's anything else that you want to leave the audience for this interview.
Yes, well, so maybe I finish with this very busy slide, but the big message and what you see here is a subway line. We all are familiar with the subway, where we have stations. These are projects. And we have lines. Here the lines are major computational themes. And what's exciting about AI is really we have these methodologies that can be transferred across domains. So I can work on, as I mentioned, developing models for better species distribution models that is going to help me discover new materials. So this is also a two-way street. On one hand, AI researchers can inject computational thinking to help address sustainability challenge, but on the other hand, on the other hand, by working on these problems, we can also advance our own field. So this is super rewarding, and I'm super excited about the potential and the promise of AI. I really recommend that if there are young people, this is the time to join AI.
I really appreciate you joining me on the SciMic stage this morning. Thank you so much. This was so illuminating. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.